Kathy, for that wonderful introduction. And I know before we roll into this video, I just want to say thank you to NAVFAC's leadership for reaching out to us and inviting us to this event. Before, I think a picture is worth 1,000 words, so we're going to roll into a video and just show you guys what CCAD is all about. Just show of hands, who's heard of the Corpus Christi Army Depot? Ooh, that's a lot. I feel pretty good about that, especially being on a Navy crowd, because I was at the 101st and 160th talking to them at Fort Campbell, and they thought we were some sort of software company, right? But that's millennials for you. So anyway, I'll tell you another quick story. So in 2000, around about, we were enforcing the no-fly zone and Operation Southern Watch. I was a maintenance officer in HS4. And I had some of you might know Mike Stevens, who was then my maintenance master chief, who became the 13th MCPON. We had if you don't know, there's islands in the Gulf, and so we had aircraft go down, and we needed an engine, and so we pulled something out of the bow of the ship. It was a CCAD engine, and so that's always stayed with me, because we have a situation where we're the ones who are supplying that material to the warfighter, right? And so that day, we were dependent upon that engine to be able to execute our mission and get our people home. What I want to just show you about this picture is, you heard Kathy say that we got a lot of experience, and it's bad when you get three guys together and it's 100 years of experience, because that just means that I'm getting really old. But the one part about it is that we have a combat-proven commander and NCO. And what that means is, in a nutshell, is that we don't do contracts, we take orders. So our higher headquarters are our bosses, but they're also our customers, and the warfighter is our customer. So I just wanted to make sure we point that out. We move out, right? So during COVID, we didn't shut down. My mantra was that, hey, if the soldiers are out there standing watch, sailors, airmen, and Marines are out there, we're out there working as well. So as I said before, our bosses are also our customers. I just want to point out on this slide a couple of things. You see that you have the major command as the Army Material Command, 4-star command out in Huntsville. We have Mr. Martin here from AMCOM, who's our Life Cycle Management Command. So we're in the Aviation and Missile Command. And then, as part of the OIB, there's CCAD. We're just like FRC. We're one of the largest employers in South Texas. We are the largest employer in Corpus Christi. We employ about 1% of the population. And, we have over $1 billion of open programs right now. And it'll be north of about $1.7 billion of total programs that we will get this funded this particular year. We're tied into with different academic and different institutions. So you see a lot of folks. I'll make sure that Commander Sharp, we're going to get you guys on there as well, because the reason why we're here is because CCAD is on a naval installation. And with that, the Navy has first right of refusal of all the projects, and they're going to be managing those key projects for us. So we found this is a great opportunity to come down and talk about, just how strategic those projects are. And it kind of goes all the way back to that reason and rationale, right? Like when, it's not just the Army doing its thing over there. Like I told you that story back when we were in the Persian Gulf. That's the breadth and length that CCAD touches the entire system and touches our warfighters. We're very embedded with the academic institutions. We did I like data, and we pulled some data with one of the colleges there, where we have a 2-year program where people can get airframes and power plants license. Over 1,000 people have come through that program that work at CCAD. So, we're very well tied into the local community. And one thing I'll tell you in Texas that I do enjoy is the fact that we have a community that really embraces the military, and we get a lot of support. And so I just can't say enough and thank our leadership down there for the support that they give us, and the academic partners. As you see to the right, bottom right, we have a lot of industry partners as well. So it's quite a relationship. It's where our industry partners are our suppliers, and then sometimes they're our competitors, and then sometimes they're our customers. And so what I mean by that, like if you talk about UH-60 blades, right? Sikorsky had a tower go down. We were spinning blades at Corpus Christi. We turn engines for GE. So all that matters because when the infrastructure is challenged in the United States with support of our warfighters, we all work together to be able to solve those particular problems, right? So that's why that's really important, why that matters. Okay, so Luke is going to talk more about this, but the reason why we're really here is to make sure that everybody sees what's going on down in South Texas. And when you hear us talk about the organic industrial base and the Army industrial base, it's a very broad and complex system, and it's a lot of opportunity. So for the construction companies that are out there and the bidders and the small businesses, we want you to know about what it is that is going on in the Army itself, but particularly we want you to know about what's going on in South Texas. But Luke will talk more about the OIB itself and just the complexity of it. We have everything from medical devices to missiles, from howitzers to, like in our particular case, we are the DoD's Center for Industrial and Technical Excellence for aviation rotary wing repair, okay? So you can see where we're located down there in Bodman, Texas. So a helicopter really is 10,000 parts flying in formation, right? So when I say talk about rotary wing, those parts are the key to keeping the forces flying, the components piece. And we're going to talk about our dynamic component repair facility today and the work that's going on there. But the components, that's most of our work. That's what people call for engines, blades, things of that nature. In 2009, I was running a blade facility, blade repair facility, dynamic testing facility. General Casey came down, walked the facility himself for the surge in Afghanistan. We had to quintuple production in 6 months. We doubled it in 2. So when I talk about the fact that we don't take contracts, we take orders, that's exactly what I mean. Is that when the balloon goes up, there's a requirement, as even if there are civilians, that this is a mostly civilian. We have about a handful of military folks that are there at the depot, it's mostly civilians, but they will, if we have to go to 24/7, we will go to 24/7 to meet the nation's needs. So those components are there. You can see cross-service, the Chinook. A lot of Navy folks have enjoyed riding on Chinooks overseas, and there's probably not a Marine in the room that doesn't love an Apache, right? So, but the utility helicopters, those are the things that really keep the flow of things moving. And we're going to talk to you today about what does the future look like when we talk about our future long-range attack aircraft, the V-280, which looks a lot like an Osprey. That's where we're going to be bridging towards in the future. Key players, again, all the higher headquarters, but one of the things that Mr. Schwartz talked about on the customer base, and I want to really dive into, is the public-private partnerships. So we talk about it a lot from the standpoint of components and airframes and delivering those type products, but we've got to start talking more with providers of construction, modernizing equipment, in ways that we can expedite that and have these more win-win, better outcomes where we can reduce variation, create more predictability, and ultimately reduce risk for everyone. So I was not going to put this slide in here, but I'm going to talk about something because Mr. Schwartz brought it up today. And when I've talked to my NAVFAC leadership about some of the challenges around personnel, and we deal with it with everybody. So we talk about the war on talent. And one of the things in this war on talent that we all have to do is we're going to have to come together to do things better. So I want to talk about that first when we talk about the team. So you heard me talk about the fact that we have relationships with schools and things of that nature. We right now have a community project where we're working with the high schools to build an aircraft. It's called Tango Flight, and there's 20 of them in the country at 20 different high schools, but we're having to start that deep to get folks who are interested in aviation. And if they're not even interested in aviation, we are a STEM institution. So those same folks can go on to medical school, they can go to become engineers at different schools, go to the Navy, what have you, right? We're learning to work together to partner so that we can imbue those things in those future leaders that will be capable and interested in those type of careers that are going to really, in essence, keep the entire DoD flying. So we have a lot of techniques at the depot that we're modernizing. So as part of our strategy, to kind of simplify it, we take old and make it new again, in a sense, right? So that means we might add metal. We may 3D print something that's no longer manufactured anywhere. We use digital twinning to capture those files and then repeat those elements. I think I have the only UH-1 rotor head stand in the entire DoD, right? Because again, when we talk about going forward towards the future platforms, the OEMs are going to pivot that way. It's going to be my job to make sure that we are sustaining the fleet. So there's always got to be a bridge. And so to do that, sometimes we have to find different techniques that are going to be able to elongate our ability to supply the warfighter. I'll jump to the infrastructure piece, right? Because that is so key to, and that's the reason why we're here. It's a catch-22, right? In the sense that you need good facilities to be able to produce the things that are necessary, right? And from a cost perspective, we're trying to get into newer facilities so that we can impair the older facilities or tear them down. And without those facilities, we can't make the mission. Without the people, right, that you're going to have to employ to make that mission work, then there'll just be empty buildings and stands that are there. So we also can't hire and retain the best people without good facilities, right? So if you've ever been to a Google or a Microsoft and seen their campus, there's a reason why people are walking around happy, right? And we have to do the same thing in the Department of Defense to make sure that we are able to attract and retain those personnel that are going to be long-term employees, and continue to contribute to the OIB. So the current NAVFAC projects, we're going to go into more of that in the panel, but I'm going to just tell you about these particular two. So I talked about the powertrain phase for 3. I think NAVFAC did a fantastic job, and the supplier did a fantastic job on phase 3. We're going through that. That's part of the dynamic components repair facility that Luke's going to talk more about. Just a game changer in the attitude. So if you ever come visit CCAD, what I normally just going to do, I'm going to have you walk through the old hangar, and then I'm going to take you to the new place, right? And you talk about the difference in whistling while you work compared to the Franken building of Building 8. It's just a night and day difference, and a great example of how an environment can make a difference in how people's attitudes, their productivity, their efficiency is. All right, and another great thing about that facility, when we had the hurricane, people say, well, why would you put a depot down on the Gulf Coast with all the hurricanes? Well, last couple of hurricanes that came through, that the buildings were never down, right? One tile fell out the ceiling, so it's very good work. It's strategic. It's allowing us to be more resilient and be able to continue to improve upon our ability to deliver the readiness that the force needs. Now, the hangars. So we've talked about the age of some of these buildings. So I'm just give you, some of you in the audience may remember Bob Barker from the old Price is Right? Bob Barker trained down at Corpus Christi at that NES. So did George Herbert Walker Bush as well. So when we took over those facilities, the Army took those facilities from the Navy, they were already old, right? So that just kind of tells you the age of what we're dealing with. And so the environment that these folks are working in is hot, right? I can put all the fans I want down there. They try to come in early, what have you. But it directly affects their productivity, right? And so my promise to them was that we were going to get these facilities fixed. And we're right now on Hangar 47. Commander Sharp could talk more about where we are on that. But the reason why that's so important is so that people are working in a place that they can be their best selves each and every day. Okay. All right. With that, I'm going to move over to Mr. Luke Martin.
So good morning. I think you guys have heard a little bit from the Navy side about some of the things that they've done. You're going to see a similar sort of strategy for us on the Army side. Come on now. All right, so what I want to do is I want to talk to you a little bit and let you understand that the Army organized OIB Modernization Task Force about 3 years ago. And part of that was because the Army saw that we needed to have the ability to not only meet our legacy mission, which Mr. Benson has talked about, but also our future vertical lift, our future missions. Okay? So with that, we decided, we went through and built a task force and built a plan to show how we would not only meet both that legacy, but also that future set of workforces. Part of that plan, I think you heard the Navy version of the FIOPS and the PSYOPs. Part of that plan for us was just Modernization Task Force. So when we looked at our facilities, we looked and made a decision about whether it was something that could be renovated or whether we would have to bring something down and build a completely new building with it. And of course, with every plan, we know that the cost of new building, new construction, we had to optimize all of that to do that. So you've heard a little bit of that earlier, and I'm going to show you the Army version of that. Mr. Benson's talked a little bit about the component repair facility. It is a multi-phase facility. The beauty of that facility is it is not constrained. If I told you that it was a version of this room so that we could break it up into separate pieces and do separate things, or as technology changes or as the Army's needs and the nation's needs change, we can adjust and modify that building, then that would give you a vision of the kind of things that we see. Throughout that, those are components that we do. If we want to look at the middle section on hangar renovation, when we look at aircraft and airframes, then we have a plan to start with renovating a couple of our hangars. And eventually we have a concept for this thing called the multifunctional aircraft remanufacturing facility. This is really in the concept phase for us right now, but as we continue to work towards the planning and understand where the CFTs and where the new mission will go, we will adjust and work with that. But our concept, again, is open type buildings, open type facilities to allow us to be able to change as the time changes. So a little bit of scope for you to understand the kind of things that we're looking about at CCAD are the military construction, the R&M, the OMA portion, the SIP, the equipment portion, the IT portion. And what we see, we were tasked to build a plan for 15 years. Now the intention is not that at 15 years you have it perfect and everything's with it, but just take a look out of 15 years, and as things change and as they modify, then we provide the ability to look at it and say, okay, here's how we're going to change. So this is our current view. We have 128 projects, approximately $1.5 billion. Now, just a little bit more of a breakdown. We talked about our component. In our component section, we have phased it in 7 phases. We're currently working on phase 3. Hopefully we'll close that out shortly. We have phase 4 that is working on contracting right now to come into play. The intent here was to be able to build modular spaces and then be able to, at the end of the day, have a complete building that works and does all the things that we need to do at Corpus Christi for the Army. So you can see that we have phases planned and plans made for going forward on that particular building. As we get into our conceptual plans for how we work on aircraft themselves, we're breaking down. We're starting the planning now to break down, to develop the requirements and to understand how we fit these pieces in. And that's how we fit it in from a hangar standpoint of being able to do certain operations in hangars, and how we break down what we do. And this type of planning is what will lead then to a phased plan that you saw for the component rebuild facility. As we look through this process, and of course, you know, these are all nominal, this is what we hope, assuming funding and that sort of thing comes on, but we have a complete plan you can see up through FY39 to adopt and adapt CCAD. A little bit of the same thing here. The key I want you to see is the last point, and that's how are we successful, right? Well, we're successful because we work with the industry, we work with our partners, we work with our customers to build and have something that is ready to execute when we say it's ready to execute. So when we look at phasing, when we look at these times, when we look at these funding, we can tell Congress, we can tell the Army, we can tell whoever we need to tell that this is our plan and we are on progress to it. And so the key to a plan is to keep it on time and keep everything together. So as we develop these, that's why we are here, the Army is here at a Navy Industry Days, is to sit there and say, hey, we need your help. We need everybody's help in trying to do these things. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to questions.